Hello again everyone, Unknown Reefer here again. And in this video I want to talk about my dwarf parrot. I think it's a blue striped. There's lots that look quite similar to this, to be fair. Sometimes called wrasses, sometimes shops refer to them as dwarf parrots. I think, no, I might be wrong on this, that dwarf parrots are part of the wrasse family, or the wrasse family is part of the dwarf parrots. I don't know. I did a quick bit of Googling, but for somebody going out and buying one of these, you might see it listed as a dwarf parrot, or you might see it listed as a wrasse. Now, I'd imagine this video can cover any sort of wrasse this size, really, in any of the wrasses, dwarf parrots. I find them very peaceful, very active, as you can see they're going around the tank quite happily. This one I've not seen bury in the sand, but I know some of them do bury in the sand. I have had a few different wrasses in my time, and the reason why I've had a few different wrasses is, or dwarf parrots, is I find that if anything goes out of kilter in the tank, your dwarf parrot or your wrasse is your first one to look unhappy, or in general just snuff it. Now, the things that I've had that have caused these die, I've had a couple that have just gone into the tank and not done very well. I had a leopard wrasse, which I know are quite a hard fish, didn't make it. However, I did have another fish die at that time, and I discovered it was a particular brand of scented candle my wife was burning about 3 foot from the tank. Even though I was running a little bit of carbon, I had 2 fish die about 2 days after she started doing those. Speaking to my local shop, he said that the fish in the tank would have built up a tolerance to it over time, but any new additions, it would be a bit of a shock to the system, the chemical in the water. So I changed out my carbon and moaned at the wife, and the rest of my fish were fine. But as I say, I did lose the leopard wrasse when it went in the tank. I also had a yellow wrasse that went in this tank when it first got put together. Not entirely sure why that one died. If I'm honest, it was doing well for a few days and then it just didn't make it. I think unfortunately with this hobby, a lot of the animals that come from the wild can go in and seem to be doing alright for a little while, and then something can stress them, or they could have an internal parasite that you just haven't seen, because I don't quarantine. I don't really have the space and the size. I know it's an excuse, but I choose to run the risk of not quarantining, because as I've said in previous videos, I know I've had ick in this tank. I know some of the fish have had ick. I know there will be ick on some of the rocks, because I had to put the rock from my previous setup into this one. So I don't worry about quarantining. So I had a yellow wrasse that died, and then I've had another 2 wrasses that have died in my time. I'm going to sound terrible here. One was in the second tank I had, which was a 125 litre, and I hadn't realised that my auto top off switch had been knocked, so the salinity went up to about 1.3. Everything else in the tank looked fine. A couple of the corals were sulking a little bit, but I just thought I needed to do a water change, and then my wrasse was looking very, very stressed. So I discovered that the salinity was off, and although I did alter that, it died. And then the other wrasse that I lost was when I had the big tank disaster of the tank before this cracked. And it was in a holding 80 litre tank that I had a canister filter on it for my tropical days. I had a spare canister filter that I had running on the holding tank whilst I was waiting for this one to arrive. And with the stress of all that, I lost a fox face and I lost one of the wrasse. But luckily after that I did manage to sort out the sump from my old tank. And a hang on overflow, and actually managed to get a sump set up for that little tank, and they were in there for about 5 weeks anyway. And then other than the rest and the fox face, everything else has gone into this tank, and done reasonably well, as you can see. So yeah, in a wrap up, dwarf parrots, wrasses, Thrushell wrasses. This one won't flash for me. I think they're really good additions. They're very active, nice looking fish. They're quite cheap. Usually they're about £30, give or take a little bit. Get on with everything, eat virtually anything, and are just generally a great addition. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you've got any comments or questions down below.